All right, here's a morning recap for the session of November 1st. So if you notice, so the 30 minutes, so remember we are at Monday, Tuesday, and today is Wednesday. So we opened up above the resistance at 506. And if you go back over here, you see that this was really the zone right here that I was watching for at least the upside. If it ends up breaking above, it you'll have a potential like squeeze opportunity. So you see how in that zone it held, it broke above in the afternoon, and then this was the afternoon session yesterday. And then what did we do this morning? We broke above that 505. That's why it's really important to also look at your bigger time frames. Um, Here I'm going to take off this because that's an intraday, and I'll show you that in a minute. But so you see how you can identify your support and your resistance. That was resistance. Now it's support. You gapped up above, but it also, if you notice, you see how that is also below the bull pivot. So in your mind, one would think, oh, okay, well, we are in between the bull and bear pivot, so this must be another like box play or inside play. Not necessarily, because you want to see what happens after that, first 30 minutes or hour. And you can see that first hour we pushed all the way almost to the mid-range ATR. And how you can identify that is if you notice that first 30 minutes, we didn't just have like a look above and then fail. It was a big push. And yes, we did fail and we came back below, but see, it was recovering. This was sort of difficult. If you were playing like, oh, well, anything above, go long, anything below, go below. And you can see that you would have got chopped out. But I'll show you what it looks like in a Renko chart, and that's why it's important to, be looking at both. But either way, you should have been bullish today because of that important resistance and now support. This was a big move, but even if you missed the upside, you can see how the downside was just as lucrative because once again it came up almost to that mid range and then ended up failing. And basically, you could have got in right up here, or you could have waited for some kind of pullback and get as close as you can. And then this was basically a lower high. See how it never got above there, and then that's when it ended up breaking down and coming down to VWAP. Didn't come all the way down to the bull pivot until right before 15 minutes before noon. So this was your morning session. It was around 100 points up, and then 100 points down, and then it sort of chopped around all the way down. So let's take a look at what the Renko looks like. So if you were playing this morning, it wasn't easy for me. I will say this because this is the problem that you have to have, that a lot of people have, is biases. In any way, there was biases. And you have to play the chart. So when I say biases, you're thinking, oh, it's FOMC day. They're going to probably consolidate it up until FOMC. Nope, that's not the case. I mean, you still had a lot of range, and then FOMC is going to be in about at 1:30 Central Time. So yes, they're consolidating right now, but what they could end up doing right here is this could be a double top on a 30 minutes, and then FOMC they could crack this 1500, and then if they do, then this could easily come all the way back down here today, or they could come back down here and then tomorrow they end up coming all the way back down, or they could end up consolidating right here. They could drop it during FOMC and then they could break out and then they can come to the ATR up here. So you don't know, and this is a wild card, but the 743 is going to be a critical area. Why? Is because that was the breakdown of last week. So what we could end up doing is coming back up and retesting that, and then failing. So it's a wild card with FOMC. Sometimes you can just wait until they shake everybody out, and then you'll see a clear direction. But for right now on the morning play. Let's take a look why that was it was difficult. But once you see what the play is going on, then you knew how to play it. So basically, in the morning for the first 15 minutes, you had this consolidation. You know, it was a lot of consolidation, and then they broke above, and they came back down. They broke above, but then you started waiting. You see that they were consolidating for quite a while. So they consolidated, boom, 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 boom. They came down, then recovered, consolidated, and then eventually they broke back down. So one could have gone short on the retest because this was a good push down below. This wasn't just a look down below and fail. So you get in right here, you go short, and then you hold. You hold. You take profits, and you're holding for the bigger picture. As in, that was a consolidation above a pivot break, and then you're supposed to have continuation. The mere fact that we came back and broke back above, that's when you go long for the bigger play. So you had a consolidation above and breakdown, consolidation below, and then break above. So this final push, a lot of times they're just exhausting you. Now you're like, well, I don't know what's happening. It's supposed to break down. Nope, you got to compartmentalize. So right here, if you would have got in any kind of pullback, that was your point to go long, and you could have made close to 100 points in a matter of like 15 minutes. So and then once you got close, consolidated. When you got close, you end up going short. You can either add to your position as it gets closer, and sure enough, it pulls down, comes back up, and then the rest of that period comes all the way back down. And then you see how it's just chop, chop, chop right in the middle, and then eventually comes all the way back down, holds, and then comes all the way back up. Afternoon almost hit the that pivot again, but you see that was the high. So that's not just the high, but you also have to be looking at. You see on the 30 minutes, that was that mid-range ATR, and that's why I drew that line right here as well. So we break below. This is now resistance, comes back down, and just consolidates. It actually breaks above, but then they yanked it really quick for whatever reason, right at, I guess, 1 o'clock. And then came back down, and look, they dropped it all the way down here, and now they've recovered it again. So it's a lot of chop, but if you got in around here or down here, then you would not have to be dealing with all of that. So that is why it's important to just sort of let that first 30 minutes materialize and don't be married to position. You get in, if you get stopped out, near a pivot, then you just learn to flip. And if you flip, you see how this is, once it broke above that 562, you see how this was lower high, then it basically had nothing standing in its way all the way up to that mid ATR. So the other thing you have to be looking for is, and I'm going to be watching this, but if you notice, you had a inside day, a box play the day before. I have noticed that it's very rare that you're going to have 2 inside days in a row. So with that said, if you can identify a day that was sort of a box play, then you can then know that the next day, the likelihood is you're probably going to go to a mid ATR. So I'm not 100%. I'm going to be looking into this, but if the probability is high, then really you just wait for those days that are inside days, and then it can be super lucrative if you really hold for those bigger picture moves. So anyways, good luck this afternoon if you're playing FOMC, or we will see you later on the week. I will not be doing any recaps next week. I will be out of town. So happy trails.